All right, thanks for watching. Today we're going to unlock another tax investing market for you. It's going to be the Indiana Commissioner Sales. We're going to talk about why these sales are so popular with tax investors, how they're different from the other sales in Indiana, and how to find these sales, and frankly, how to research the properties very quickly using Parcel Pair. So let's get started by talking about how these commissioner sales work and why do they have commissioner sales. So the commissioner sales run through the spring, and they basically in Indiana want to distinguish that spring season from the fall season. So in the fall, they call them treasurer sales. In the spring, they call them commissioner sales. And not to confuse terminology too much, but those commissioner sales and treasurer sales are selling tax liens. Now, depending on which type of sale you bought it, the tax lien is going to behave differently with redemption and interest. But uh, Indiana also has the occasional tax deed sale in a few counties, and they also have foreclosure auctions year round. So you're going to see all of those different types of sales on Parcel Fair. We'll go through that when we look at the calendar and talk about how to distinguish between those. The spring tax sales offer the leftovers from the previous tax lien sales. And so basically, those leftovers are carried from that initial treasurer sale in the fall over to subsequent sales, potentially for years, because Indiana does not have over the counter tax liens. They do not sell over the counter. They just roll the leftovers into the next sale, or sometimes they will convert them to a tax deed and sell them in a few counties. As I mentioned earlier, those are rare, but we do have a few every year. So again, the treasurer sales are in the fall, and that's the first chance you have at buying a tax lien on a newly delinquent property. And then the leftovers roll into the spring for commissioner sales. The tax liens in the commissioner sales uh, have a 120-day redemption period, and it's an overbid auction format. So that 120-day redemption is very popular because you can foreclose on that lien within 4 months, which is faster than you can foreclose on some deeds that have redemption across the U.S. So when people try to rule out tax liens as, oh, I'm not going to get the property or they take too long, uh, I really recommend you keep an open mind about liens and consider them. Consider the redemption, consider the rules instead of just ruling it out of your strategy because you don't like that it's a lien sale. It might actually be a shorter path to own the property than you think. In contrast, those fall treasure sales where you get the first crack at buying a lien on a newly delinquent property, those sales have a 1 year redemption. Okay. So if you think about it this way, if a property goes into the treasure sale in the fall, and you could buy it with 1 year redemption, but let's say no one buys that lien, so it rolls over to the spring. Well, the redemption gets shortened down to 4 months instead of a year. So it's kind of like the redemption's already been working in your favor. When you buy in the spring commissioner sales, that shorter redemption is a way to entice investors to buy these because they didn't sell the first time around. You're looking at a 10% penalty interest rate. And so it's penalty instead of prorated, which means you get the 10% on the whole, regardless of how many months go by. And auctions are both in person and online. I'll show you how to distinguish the two in a minute. So Indiana tax auctions, we're talking about the workflow here. When a property goes tax delinquent, they get published on July 1st as delinquent. And then around August, we start talking about the fall tax auctions. They go through October usually. And those are these fall treasurer sales with the 1 year redemption. The treasurer takes the leftovers and gives them to the commissioner. The commissioner in the spring says, let's have another auction of leftovers. We see those. I said February through May here. I actually just noticed we have one in June, so this is already out of date. And actually, the side note here, we are seeing more of these auctions released. So the numbers today are just going to go up before the number of properties advertised. After the commissioner sales in the spring, those leftovers just roll to future auctions. And then again, sometimes counties will hold deed auctions just to get rid of some of those tax delinquent properties. So now that we've tracked Indiana for a few years, I'm excited to show you 4 years of comprehensive history here, 2022 through current. And you'll notice year over year, the second column is the total column. That's the total number of properties advertised. So I think you could say ballpark every year we've had around 10,000 up to 12,000. In 2025 so far, we've had 9,704 advertised. Remember, there's at least 4 auctions that we've seen scheduled that have not released lists yet. So that number is going to go up. I think at the end of this year, we'll say it was over 10,000 properties, and it should be right in line with 2024. The number of structures, if you see, that's kind of the number basically of the total properties that have a building of some sort. It could be a shed, it could be a skyscraper. Just there is a valuation for a structure. And so when we look at like the fall sales, when you're getting that first choice look at the properties and like the brand new delinquent comes out, you're looking at between 2/3 and 3/4 of the selection have structures in the fall sales because it's the first offering. Now that the leftovers have fallen out, the percentage of structures drops drastically. And you see, we hover between 12 and 17%. We'll call it like 15 on average, maybe, or 14. And I don't know if that number is going to change much this year as more auctions are released. I don't think there's going to be enough auctions coming out last minute to really move that 12% too much. So moving on, the auction value has stayed kind of ballpark the same every year. Actually, it's funny, 2025 is right on track with 2023 at almost exactly $82 million in auction value. That's the value of the properties that are being auctioned with liens. And then the last column are the taxes due. This is the total amount of delinquent taxes that the counties are trying to recover back into the tax rolls. And so it's around 150 million early in 2022, and then every year it's dropped. So that's a nice thing for the counties that they're able to recover, or they have less outstanding revenue that they can't collect on every year. But this year they're going for at least 115 million in back taxes, and again, more auctions releasing, that number will go up a little bit. So let's talk about the top 10 commissioner sales by property count. You're basically Lake County, no matter which sale you're talking about, commissioner or treasurers, they always have the most. 7,692 properties. That's bigger than every other county combined in the state for this sale in the spring. They're looking about 10% of those have structures, and just remember these are leftovers and they roll over year to year. So some of these structures have really decayed. We're going to take a look at one that's upside down in a minute, so I can show you how to avoid those. But that the auction value in Lake County alone is 52 million in property value, and the taxes due are very high, 115 million. Almost all the taxes due being recovered are in Lake County. It's kind of crazy to think about the amount of back taxes that one county is trying to recover. So I won't go through all this. If you want to take a look at this closer, you can grab it for later, or save it, or come back to it. But I'll just say this: it's like a it's like a ledge. It drops off pretty steep as soon as you get to number 2, 3, 4, and then by the end of this top 10 list, we're in like 38, 58 properties. So some of these auctions get really small because those counties just don't have a lot left over to sell. Okay, so we've talked about highlights, overviews, numbers. Let's go unlock this market and really take a look at what's inside. So again, we're using parcelfair.com. This is the Parcel Fair YouTube channel, so you probably knew that. And what I like to do is this big purple button right here takes you to the auction calendar. And right now we're looking at all the auction seasons for the year for all 50 states. We're looking at the seasons at the top, and then the ones at the bottom are the year-round markets where you have auctions year-round. So this is a very handy tool we released a couple months ago. What I want to show you first is let's filter down to tax lien auctions only. That's going to take all these blue ones out and just stick to the green. Green are the tax lien auctions. And now we're looking at our seasons, and you can see leading off in February, Indiana has its first sale. It actually happened 2 days ago. The first commissioner sale was 2 days ago. And you see the season is going to extend into June. Now, let's dig into Indiana. I'm just going to click on the Indiana name. And you'll see 4 types of sales at the top. We have commissioners, we have tax deed auctions, we have treasurer sales, and then foreclosure auctions that go year-round. Remember, we talked about these, and if you ever need like a hint to go back and see what these are all about, click the little question mark. It'll tell you, hey, you know what? This commissioner sales, that's the spring auction season with the 120-day redemption. Tax deeds, treasurer sales, 12-month redemption. So little notes in here to help you remember which season we're talking about. And then, of course, the calendar to see when to expect those auctions, okay? Now, remember, we're looking at 194 auctions right now because we're looking at all 4 types. I just want to look at tax auctions because we're talking about tax liens in this video. This is going to rule out the deeds and the foreclosures if I click on, actually, this will just rule out the foreclosures. And so now I'm looking at just the sales that I care about. So Union County happened 2 days ago. So they're in person in the commissioner's room. Today we have Fulton County in person. In a week from now, we have St. Joseph online at Zeus. So each one of these auctions you can click on and get a little info about it. And we actually take you to the register page and the original advertised auction list on each one of these if you want to see that. But if you want to see our list, which is where we take and research each property for you, you would click on this blue button to see the list, and it'll open up a new browser tab and show you what's in the auction. Again, we've taken the auction list and we've added a lot of information to it for you, including property reports like this one. So that'll take you straight into what you're wanting to see. But a lot of people like to use the map. So let's switch over to the map. So again, we left the auction calendar. You can go into any auction right here and view it on the map. I'm going to do something different today in this video. We're going to look at the entire state at once. And really that's because you have some outlier counties, but the concentration really is up here in the northwest corner of the state, Lake County and surrounding a little bit. So let's go play with the numbers a little bit. Remember, the numbers have gone down because of redemptions. We track redemptions every day on every auction in our system. And so since those slides I showed you at the beginning covered the number of properties advertised, that number's lower because we take redeemed properties out to save you time. So Indiana, all counties, we know there's 9,574. I want to see how many of those actually have improvements. So I just hit the improvement filter. We're still looking at 1,174. So that's close to that 10 to 12% mark we talked about earlier of percentage of 12% is pretty close. And so now I've got a much smaller list to deal with if I want to do that. I haven't even selected a county yet. So if I wanted to go select like Madison County, I know there's a few properties there. So we're down to 20 properties that have improvements in Madison. If we actually see everything, there were 276 in the auction, 20 have improvements. So I can go research those, or I can keep going and do like, I want to see a minimum valuation of 50,000 bucks. That's one property left. So let's drop it to $5,000. So now we're looking at 5 properties. I mean, I could keep filtering, but really 5 properties. Let's just go look at them. So I'm just going to scroll on the right side. I can see I'm going to hit find on map on this property on the right. And now this actually takes us to on the map, that property. Let's switch over to satellite and take a peek at that building. I'm looking at a rooftop and maybe an outbuilding in the back. This does not look bad, to be honest with you. I'm going to hit the report. And what we're seeing here is a house that's in very decent shape from the street view. The Postal Service says this house is vacant. The value is 33 grand. The amount due at this auction is only 50 bucks. So that's an odd number. A very cheap opening bid for this auction. Remember, it's premium bid, so you will actually bid that number up at the auction. So let's see, if you like this property, you could actually click on this button and find out that this is an in-person auction at the Mill Creek Civic Center on March 24th, 10 a.m. And I can click this blue button to go register, or click the green button to go see the auction list itself if I wanted to. And that takes me to the source for that Madison auction on SRI. So yeah, you can also click on this screen panorama view right here. We can zoom in on the house. These photos are not always the newest. So if you get serious about a property, I recommend driving out or sending a scout. You can do that and just take a peek at the property. But all the indications on this property report that I'm looking at seem pretty favorable for this being a decent property to bid on. So let's keep. I'm going to helicopter around here a little bit. We're flying around the state, and let's go back to the high contrast. So why don't we just go ahead and take a look at Lake County? I know everybody wants to shop in Lake County. So 7,600 properties. If we do improvements only, it takes us down to 800. Let's hit a minimum value of $25,000. So 178 properties. And something key in Indiana, Lake County especially, is if these properties have been going for years delinquent, the minimum bid might be pretty high. Let's put, I'm going to say, I don't want the opening bid to be any greater than $5,000. So I'm in taxes owed right here. I'm going to put $5,000 in my max field. That took 100 properties out of the list. So that gets me down to 75 properties that have less than a $5,000 opening bid. Let's go satellite and let's just zoom in on a couple. Remember, we're looking at houses only. So 1, 2, 3 right there in a row. And let's go check out this one. And it does not look like it's in the best shape, but it is a house. And so let's go to that panorama view, and we're talking about this one right here that's boarded up, okay? So remember, go check out the house, make sure it is in good shape. The Postal Service says someone's checking the mail, so it might be occupied, I don't know. But this is basically the same property report we just looked at, valuations, and let's see, the Lake Commissioner sale is actually online. So when you click on that purchase option, you get different links, different instructions, different list. Uh, they actually post their list on Onyx Electronics is the site where you first see their list of properties. But you would register for it at Zeus auction. So don't get too confused. There's different websites in play that hold the auctions. Uh, for Lake County, I like that we can look at the property card here. So in the research links on the right side, assessor property card. Now we can go take a look at a lot more information, the sales history, the value history. Some people like to look at drops over here on the right hand column, and this one dropped significantly from 71 to 68.49, all the way down to $11,000. So, we don't know what happened there necessarily, but it could be that there was a burnout or something terrible happened in this house to drop it 80% in value in 2023. So, that's a red flag for me. I'm going to want to know what happened and what I'm going to, pay attention to here. So yeah, that's basically this property top to bottom. Now, I do want to show you an upside down property. This one, when I was preparing for this video, I was like, oh my gosh, it's a vacant property and it looks good. It looks like a nice house with a roof. And the value is very low, 7,300. So that's my first red flag that something's wrong. And then I noticed the amount due is $34,000. So the opening bid is 5 times the value of the house almost. Well, let's go see if we can tell something about that. This is something I rarely show on these videos, but if you scroll down the page and the property's been in previous auctions that we've tracked, there's an auction history section, and we can see where this property is carried over year from year, all the way back to 2023 when that's almost when we started tracking Indiana. And now you can see every year the taxes do go up to 31 to 34, and that's where they're hanging out right now. But this property's been passed over quite a few times. It's probably that opening bid is why. So this is just one of those situations where, by the numbers from the county, this house appears to be upside down. And I'm going to click on that assessor property card and see if this will tell us anything else. We're looking at just kind of the dump of county data here. The valuation history here on the right. At one point, this house was valued as high as 48,000, and it's steadily dropped for the last 15 years or so. And let's see, let me scroll down a little bit more. So we're looking at the grade on the single family house and garage is a D. And so that's, some of this is worth looking at just to say, like, what can I tell about the house? 1959 construction, there's condition notes, even some photos here. So we can see the house now is boarded up. My guess is there's probably some significant damage here. And again, if you're into rehabs and want to buy properties and do good things to them, just to flip them, maybe you can find a way to make the numbers work on this, but I'm going to pass on it because that total value, again, is the condition of the house right now. But if you're buying at 34 grand or more, still have to foreclose on it. And then you can start your rehab and try to get that value to go up. You have a big project on your hands, and there's not many people I know that really want to pick up a project of that size when they're considering other projects. Maybe one more like this. This is another house in not great shape in Lake County, but you kind of flip the numbers here because this one's worth 30 grand and the opening bid is only 840. So that tax lien $840, again, opening bid, and it's already cleared an auction. Let's go see the auction history. It's actually, I honestly don't know how, but they've lowered the opening bid on this property. They must be really wanting to move it, but it's cleared several auctions over the years. And so we can take a peek at that and just see, what's going on. And, ultimately, this is the kind of deal you might be looking for. So one last thing for really unlocking this market for you. I'm looking at those filtered down to 75 parcels. That's not very many parcels to view on the map. So I'm going to go look at those in my list. I'm going to view them as a list. Actually, I'm just going to save them to a list. This is the second option on the right. If I save them to a list and I say, let's make a new list. Let's do 2025 commissioners sale. Yeah. And so now I have this list of 75 properties. Oh, there it is. 75 properties that I can go take a peek at. And what I'll do is I might, go sort by the amount due and just put the most expensive ones up top like that, that are left over on my list. So the value is 98, the amount due is 4,900. I can live with that. But if I see some of these that look less appealing, remember I've already filtered down by value and by taxes owed. So the max taxes owed is under $5,000 because I already put that in my filter. So I can just go down the list and see if anything. I mean, frankly, these numbers kind of work. Let's say that I have let's say 3,400 on 30 grand is higher than one. I'm just going to remove it from my list, and then I'm going to move the next one from my list, and this so forth. If I go find things that just the numbers don't work for me, 3,100 on 28,000, I'm just going to remove it. And what I'm doing is I'm basically creating a shopping list of things I want to bid on, and it's by process of elimination. Different reasons. Let's say, let's go back to the top. I'm going to sort the total value by the let's see, yeah, cheapest one up top. Let's see. So a $25,000 house. These are, not too bad because I already filtered by value too. So I filtered this list down so small in my search that really I might be bidding on all of these if I was going to bid in the Lake County tax sale. But there's just so many ways you can slice this. I might go by amount due and look at my smallest one. So look at this one. It's $435 amount due, opening bid, $57,000 value. So, a few here in a row, 440 on 56. Let's just take a look at that one. So this house has an opening bid of 440 and it's vacant. So anyways, this is overkill at this point. Shown you several different ways to slice this up. But ultimately, if you're going to shop in the commissioner sales, I really think what we provide with Parcel Fair is going to save you so many hours and get the best deals to the top of your list that it's kind of a no-brainer. I can't imagine shopping in the sales without this tool. So hopefully this has given you good information about the Indiana commissioner sales. This is going to carry over year to year. 2026, this will still make sense. Numbers will be different, but hopefully the same rules. It should be. It's been this way for a while. And we'll be bringing you more markets as we unlock them in the coming weeks. And I hope this video is good for you. And if you liked it, please like the video on YouTube. It lets us know that you like this content and want to see more of it. And subscribe to the channel if you want to be notified. And reach out to us in the comments if you want to chat. So thanks again for watching and have a great day.